This is an informal conversation. It's a panel about the use of AI in bringing a perspective from our corporate processes, from our challenges dealing with clients, and for us individually as employees and professionals. So I do want to start this conversation with one more general question to all of you. I think since ChatGPT emerged and we started becoming more users of AI on a daily basis in different settings, from how do you make jokes for your kids to how you improve your productivity at work. Everybody's trying to use and get a better sense of how can we use AI. So I want you to start telling me what was your first AI experience here. Who wants to share your individual first AI experience? Ana Maria has something to say, I believe.
Hi, thank you, Giuliano, and thank you for having TSP in this panel, and congratulations to the organizers of this fantastic event. It's been a great day learning and showcasing all the work that we're doing. I will say that I will start by saying that AI has been around for a while, for decades, and I think we've been using it a lot without realizing. And I just want to think and help and invite you to think when we have to take a phone to call a taxi, or we used to have to use all these printed maps to navigate. And when we had to use everyday things that are related to transport, of course, that's the examples I have to bring, but that they were part of our everyday life, and that they got transformed in a very few space of time and change how we do everything. So for me, my experience with AI, it was a professional experience as well, because clients are starting us to ask how to use AI to do, clients mean governments, to start doing policy regarding transport and transport services around 2015, 14, when the breakthrough of these apps and ride-hailing and everything came into use. So we had to kind of start thinking about it and studying about it, and so we could provide the region with the best advice. It's been very known, all the discussion that has been about regulating Uber and ride-hailing platforms around the region. So for me, when you say what was my personal experience, it had to do as well with my job and how we could help the region to leapfrog on these issues. Another example that I have was when we used to do mobility patterns in cities. Before, that had to be done with manual surveys, and you will have people visually counting cars. Now all this you can do it with cellular data, and now with AI. So it's been an incredible transformation in the last, I would say, 10 years, but more, of course, in the last 5 years, when now generative AI came and it's kind of given us another step on the road of technology. And that's why, I don't know where the team is, but we have in our team, and we decided some years ago to have transport specialists or technology specialists in our team, and a group dedicated to do this, for us to study, to learn, but as well to internally start developing products for the clients that will help them. And we have, for example, a product developed by the bank that we give into the use of all the governments, which is a tool for do route asset management using AI called Pavimentados. Or we partner with Waze to help them develop a congestion app. Or we even using these tools to redesign urban mobility in Quito, El Salvador, and Buenos Aires. But I will tell you more about that in the next question.
I have like 2 or 3 questions about that, because this is something I'm just coming from a meeting at the United Nations about open source technology, and your team is one of the biggest contributors here in the bank of designing new tools that are being applied not only here by us, but also by other places in the region and even outside the region. Beatriz, what about you? What's your first AI experience?
Thank you, Juliano. And again, thank you for inviting me, Jean-Michel. I think this is a great topic that we are all trying to understand how it fits, right? So for me, it was also in a professional setting. One of the areas that I think AI has tackled early on is being talent acquisition. And I think it goes to the core of AI, that is managing administrative transactions and tasks and being able to analyze a lot of amounts of data. So resumes, traditionally you have recruiters that look through a lot of paper, actual resumes, right? And trying to make sense of the resumes in terms of the terms of reference. So early on, I would say like 7 years ago, actually, we started to use AI for resumes, and that helped us incredibly in terms of efficiency, using the time that recruiters used to do in sorting out resumes, really do more strategic elements of the recruiting process. So that was one of my earlier experiences with AI. But at that point in time, we started to project how else we could start using AI in HR. And one of the areas that early on the conversations were about talent management, specific to development, how we can help our employees by using these tools, and conversations about mentors, AI mentors or career development mentors that based on your competencies, based on resumes of others, they could tell you and start saying, can you consider these areas based on your competencies and experiences? These are some tracks that you can explore. So in terms of HR, one of the, I think, areas that we see being like totally a disruptor is in development for employees. So early on was that, and in a personal note, like in my past anniversary, 30 years, I asked GPT to write me a poem for my husband. Don't tell him that.
Did he notice? Did he notice? Did he notice?
Of course, he was laughing. I'm not that poetic, so.
All right, Karina, you are doing an amazing job pushing some of those topics in Trinidad, but I do want to start with your personal experience as well. So how was your first AI experience?
Thanks, Juliana. Good afternoon, everyone, and hi to my fellow panelists. I think I was using AI before I was using it, which I guess is a case for many of us. And we heard when we talk about Alexa, and of course, nowadays when I go on.
Karina, sorry to interrupt. We have an issue with your audio. I'm gonna switch to Alberto so we can troubleshoot with you the audio. So I'll come back to you in 2 minutes. All right? That was Karina GPT. All right.
Those are Alberto. Thank you, Juliano. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm sorry I'm not there to see you, but it's really weird seeing myself in a screen. So I'll just say that it's a little surreal. So my personal story about my first experience with AI, I'll be very honest. It was probably like so many of you. I did try out ChatGPT a little bit after it came out. And we had been hearing about how ChatGPT was going to take over and we're going to be completely overrun. So the first thing I did was actually, I typed in sort of a conflict of interest scenario. So I wanted to know whether ChatGPT could do my job. And fortunately, the ChatGPT basically gave me 3 different answers to the same scenario. I was okay. This is good. This is good. It's not going to be able to do my job yet. So far, it's definitely getting better, but it hasn't been able to ask me questions. Yeah, also, which is a big part of what we do. But ever since then, really, I've been using AI for pretty much everything, and we started using Grammarly. Not sure whether you all use Grammarly, but Grammarly is a great tool for writing and for editing. And I've been using it. I told my daughter recently that she was extremely lucky because right now she can do her college research by just asking 2 or 3 questions, and in a space of 7-8 seconds, she has everything that would have taken me probably a week to just research. So there's a lot of opportunities here. There's a lot of really important innovation that goes in. But as I will of course say, we have to be skeptical, we have to be knowledgeable, and we have to be mindful of exactly what are some of the risks that are involved in using these amazing tools. But so far, it's not taking over our jobs, which is good.
I have this question for Beatriz in a moment, so I'll hold this thought for a while. Just checking with the team, is Karina back or not yet? Not yet. All right. Keep asking, Mariano says. Okay. So let me. I'll go back to this question when Karina can join us. But I have a question. Maybe I can follow up with you, Beatriz. So we have seen that generative AI for technology, we have been using, being amazed, frightened, and I think there is this fear, or like Alberto mentioned, this at least concern that at some point it becomes more intelligent than us, or. And in this sense, as professionals, and you leading HR in the bank and being connected to other HR professionals, how do you see this? How do we see the risk associated with anybody here with a professional career? And what's the potential impact for job and careers in general for us at the bank? And we had a very good presentation this morning about that, but I want to see your perspective about how do you see this from a human resources perspective.
Yeah, thank you for that question, because it's a very important question. Like with anything that we don't know about, it creates this sense of fear, the unknown, right? So, and that happens with any change or any new trend, that sometimes if we feel either challenged or that in general we are afraid. So it's because we don't know about it. So I think the first thing is we need to be curious. And then if we don't know about it, so go in and understand better. And that's why these conversations are so powerful, because it's about removing the fear, removing the myth, and really have the deep down to what it really means. And then what these technologies are trying to accomplish and how we can take advantage of it. Because this is not about being against it, but how to embrace it for us to be more effective. So the way I see it is complementary to us. And then the way we have seen it, it can truly help us to do our job better, is understanding how. And then in which circumstances it will help us. I've been reading about this a lot, actually, because we've been talking about it so much, and I understand what will be the impact potentially to the work setting, to us personally. And then a lot of the AI work, and then you know more than I, Jean-Michel, I'm just saying from my perspective, is it can help us truly to amaze a lot of content or data that we personally wouldn't be able to do. So in that sense, it can truly help us to drive or to perform in a better way tax activities, how we analyze data. As Alberto was saying, when he asked the question about this scenario of ethic scenario and gave 3 answers. So we have the higher skills that are we then, after those 3 answers, then we need to place our judgment on those 3 answers. So, but AI can give you, what could be going through the algorithm and go through all that information and give us options. And then we need to apply our higher thinking to then potentially make decisions or use that information to do our work better. So for me, the way I've seen it can be very complementary, but at the same time, it can help us to perform at a totally different level. And I can see it as well with our workload, right? Sometimes we have, sometimes no. We all feel potentially loaded with all our responsibilities. So I think core is to be able to discern what can be done by AI and what it requires these higher intellectual activities that we need to own, right? So that's why I don't think that some jobs might disappear. It's logical. Like, for example, we had cashiers in the past. Now we use machines, right, in the supermarket. So we have Alexa that tell us all these things, right, that we didn't have before. So, but it's on us to discern what things make sense and in which it doesn't, and potentially tax that analysis, and for us that we have this big component of knowledge, I see all the great potential that it has, right, for all of us and for the bank. So we will need to discern more about in which instances, in which capacity AI can make us more, I don't want to say powerful, but it is powerful, right, in terms of being more efficient, better decisions, and to power us up, right? I like the title of the day. Yeah, it is how I truly see it. So our jobs change constantly, even without AI, right? From the industrial era to where we are today. So this is a constant. What we need to discern as leaders is how it applies in different settings and being smart about it. Yeah.
And maybe one of the key challenges is understanding the speed of this change. For those who are talking and learning and understanding a little bit more about AI, everybody, I think, agrees that we are not yet there, but we will get there very soon. So I think when all those changes on AI come together, I think we'll have to be adaptable in a very, very fast way. Karina, are you back, or is this Karina GPT? Just checking.
Is this working now? Can you hear me?
That's perfect now.
Yay! I have about 5 people in my office trying to get it to work, so I'm so.
No, this is great. So Karina, same initial question to you. Go ahead.
Right. I was saying that many of us are using AI, of course, without realizing it. And it has become so ubiquitous now that even when we do a Google search, the results are summarized using AI. And when we shop on Amazon, the feedback is summarized using AI. But in our case, what we did through our partnership with Tech Lab is that we hosted a consultation with ministries of education across the region. And we actually asked the participants to use ChatGPT to generate the plans and proposals that they had as a result of those consultations. So it was a real sandbox type of environment. And I think that really helped us to understand a little bit of the opportunities that it provides, but also the limitations, because it's a lot of information and you have to wade through it in order to get the gold from it, to mine the gold from all of that information. So it was a good experience.
That's great. So going back here to the panel here on in person, Ana Maria, you started sharing a little bit more about how INE and your team in transport is working on exploring generative AI, and I want to ask you two things. The first one is about how you have been doing this in the way that you work every day. So, in practical terms, how have you been using it? And we saw here on the expo the presentation around INA, and I think most importantly, I want you to know from you, how do you see the way that AI can affect us and help us preparing and manage our portfolio and our operations?
Thank you, and this is a great opportunity as well to thank Jean-Michel and the whole ITE team, and Mariana has been working with us for as well the last 10 years trying to do this better, and let me tell you why. The moment we at the transport department and INE as well, but we have the numbers for TSP, we have 20% of the portfolio of the bank, between around 70 operations, $10 billion. We prepare around $2 billion a year, so that's like 15 operations, and we supervise around 500 contracts, work contracts. So we manage an incredible amount of information, and we take a lot of decisions on a daily basis. So for us, it's been kind of an obsession for the last, I would say, 2016, I can recall, but I'm sure, but from before, by trying to use technology with Alex and the team to optimize the way we work. Because we do that with the same head count and sometimes less. So we really need to see how we can provide better services and use that in a better way. Do a lot more with less, no? So in that process, we produce an incredible amount of information. Alex has been trying to get some statistics, and he says that we write 3,000 pages per year, just the documents that we provide. So we were trying to explore two things. One, how do we can use the information that is in the bidding documents of the government to use that information that sometimes are like paper still, because they confidential documents and they have to be processed in a special way. But how can we use that information to better predict cost overruns and cost over cost and time delays? And how we could use models and information to find patterns there. And at the same time, we were trying to do how we can, all those documents that we produce, can we use them to write the next document, the next PCR, or the next pod, or the next document on a more efficient way? What I used to do, I was telling Alex, is I used to print in paper the last 5 pods that were written around the same topic that I had to write, and then trying to copy paste and so as a starting point, no? So with that, we started trying to use technology to do that on a different way that wasn't as paper-based and as a manually. And then ChatGPT came. And that's when things changed for us, because those experimentation that we were trying to do and to find in-house, for us, of course, that was a breakthrough. And we took advantage of ChatGPT technology. I started to develop an assistant for us. It's called INA, which is an intelligent assistant that will help us prepare loans, disease, and all the documents. What we did was we had access to the API of ChatGPT, and with that we developed this INA those that could go to, that went to the exposition could try try it. So the potential that we see in INA and its technology is saving costs, and not just that. How many documents we write that we forget that we have? How much information we write that we don't remember that 4 or 5 years ago someone researched about it, and we have to do and reprocess, how much work that somebody did is not visualized today or is not given credit today. So this tool, what allows us is to put all these 900 documents today, and every month it gets updated. Thank you. And then with that, we run it and we use it for our process. We're already using it. We launch it internally. This is an internal tool for the use of INE at the moment. And we already been having 36% adoption. We hope to have 100%. I understand it costs $2 per user per month. And we hope that it's going to reduce at least 12% in the time that we use now to produce our documents. So that's great, because then we will have more time to do other things. And we hope because that we can at some point give this tool to our clients to do their job as well in a more efficient way, because as well we're doing a process to transform and innovate with transport agencies that have a lot to do in that sense. That's why I started talking about bidding documents, because it's not just about the documents that we produce, but all those documents that are around in the sector that haven't been used in an efficient manner.
And this is something interesting, because right now we are on another innovation sprint for another problem. And while we discuss how to apply AI for improving this, the whole topic is, okay, it must be good and effective, not only for us internally, but also for our clients. So great point. Alberto, Ana Maria was just talking about the opportunities. I do want to touch base with you a little bit about the risks that you see and perceive. So preaching here, obvious reasons, AI is a powerful and transformative technology. How do you see the risks involved, and how can, from your perspective, especially from the Office of Ethics, can mitigate those risks and become a responsible organization towards the use of AI?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I could talk for 3 hours on that topic, so I'm trying to try and be brief.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know I have less. No, I'm pretty good at trying to word it down. So the first thing I want to say, and I also want to echo what Beatriz said in terms of the immense opportunities that the AI brings. We ourselves in the Office of Ethics are working on 3 projects that we're looking to help us, right, in the work that we do. And so we're looking to have a chatbot that can provide answers to really some of the common questions that people have. We have a lot of consultations every year, and so we do spend a lot of time in that. And by having a chatbot that can answer some of those questions, not really give advice, but provide information, that will help us in terms of making sure that we can use our resources a little bit better. We're also going to be able to try and analyze everything that we do in terms of the data that we have in our consultations, so that we can also provide and have drafting done by GenAI that can help us, again, in trying to do those consultations. And then there's also a lot of stuff that we spend a lot of time on our investigations doing, transcripts and translations, and that takes a lot of time. And with AI, there's the possibility now to do that more efficiently, rapidly, and with minimal cost. So there's a really enormous opportunity there. But with everything that the AI brings, there's also these risks that come up, right? And so when we look at that, we look at it from the point of view of what employees should know in terms of using these technology, and what the organization should be mindful in terms of the use of this technology internally and externally. So first, just quickly, just in terms of what we've worked with IT to develop these golden rules of using generative AI technology. And these are really based on our code of ethics, right? We're not making anything up. This is something that is a code that applies to these situations. So the first thing you've heard, I think today people know exactly what hallucinations mean. So the first thing that is, if you're using any of these technologies and you're getting information or reports, you have a responsibility to verify and validate the information. Because in the code, you do have the responsibility to provide truthful, accurate, and information when you're performing your job. So whenever you're using these tools, you have the responsibility to validate and verify that it's correct. And these tools are getting better. The hallucinations are diminishing, but I can give you 10 or 15 examples of people who have used the technology and have lawyers, for example, have been really using this technology and with really bad results, and have been fined by courts because they're not checking the information that they're receiving from these technologies. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the code basically says also that we have to be careful with confidential information, right? So we shouldn't be sharing confidential information with people who don't have a need to know. And if you're using a public tool, and this is not only us telling you, this is the tool saying that you should not be sharing any confidential or sensitive information with these tools, because by doing so, you're basically sharing it with as if you're sharing with one of your neighbors who might be a little noisy. So very, very important if you're actually using or trying to use any confidential information and doing these tools. The bank does have an enterprise-ready Copilot that should be used because it is enterprise-ready and it's supposed to be walled off, and it's not supposed to be storing or using that information. But our caveat is really, if you don't have to use any confidential information, don't use it in any of these tools. The other sort of things that have to be kept in mind, of course, are the issues of intellectual property. You may have heard about the issues of copyright, the litigation that's ongoing about these things. This is a very tricky issue because some of these models do provide sources for the information. Some of them don't. Some of them are complete black boxes, don't tell you exactly what is happening. But under our code, you also have to make sure that if you're using any sort of intellectual property, you should source it and get authorization as appropriate. But this is really difficult because it's really, it depends on the model that you're using and how it goes. But you have to be really mindful of that as well. And then you've also probably heard about the issues of bias and discrimination. So being mindful that because of these models have been trained on different data sets that, by the way, these companies don't tell you exactly what those trained data sets are, so we have no idea exactly what they're using. But it has been shown. There's been plenty of news articles in terms of how these tools are producing discriminatory facial recognition images, and some of them have also have been used in detecting fraud that turned out to be not correct. So you have to be really mindful in terms of what that tool, what kind of data set is being used, what are probably some of the implications of the data set that's being used, and potential bias and discrimination in those. And then issues, again, personal data privacy. The tools will tell you themselves, don't share any personal data privacy. Although they say that they don't store it or share it, they basically could be, depending on the model's terms of service, that they could be used or could be accessed by others. And then finally, there's this issue of plagiarism, right? Are we if we're using these tools, are we obliged to basically cite and disclose that we're using them? That's still an area that's really in development. What we recommend is if you're using a tool and you're significantly using for anything in terms of your work product, you should disclose it and you should cite it so that whoever is looking at that product knows that that's the tool that you use. And some of the style manuals have started sort of going into what is it that you should do for citing that the work that you do. That's on the employee use side. For the organization, really it's an issue of being very mindful of the potential risks that you're doing. So the first thing is asking what is the purpose of this tool that we're either developing or that we're going to be considering and supporting. And what we recommend is basically the approach that the EU took in the AI Act that they just did, which is a risk-based approach. So essentially, whenever we're doing this, we should be asking, what are the potential risks of using this tool or developing this tool? And there should be some principles of responsible AI that I'm not going to get into, but based on those principles, there should be a risk assessment made of exactly what are the risks, and if you identify those risks, how are you going to mitigate them, how are you going to address them? so that this is not an issue that you can go, you can develop, you can finance, you can do something, and then there may be some harmful effects that if we didn't think about at the beginning, it's going to be a little bit too late once it comes out. And I'll just give you one last example. I went to this conference on AI a couple of weeks ago, and this entrepreneur basically talked about how he had developed a tool for this company that was able to do the work of 500 people with 5 people. And I asked him, so did this company think about exactly what would happen with those 495 people as a result of that project? And his answer was no. They were just basically thinking about how to reduce cost and be more efficient. So that question of exactly what is it that we do, the implications of using these tools that may have an impact in people's lives, be it their jobs, being exactly what they do, without thinking about what is it that we can do to mitigate, to address, or how do we address those issues, is really I think the biggest concern of me and of people who are thinking about this use of responsible AI. So we're working on a framework for responsible use of AI that we're working with IT and different folks to see if we can come up with this framework so that the bank can have this responsible AI framework not only for internal use but also for operations.
This is great, Alberto. Thank you. I started receiving questions from the audience. So if you here want to have a question, just raise your hand. I have a bunch that are arriving from Zoom. So I'm gonna make a segue from what Alberto just mentioned and get back to you, Beatriz. There is a question about what type of new skills you believe the bank employees will need with the adoption of AI as it increases internally, and any type of upskilling resources that we already offer or we might offer. What's your vision on that?
Again, that's a great point, right? So how we define jobs is according to our strategy as an organization. So we have an institutional strategy right now that we are developing and coming to see what changes, right? In terms of organizational capabilities, and that then starts having an impact potentially in what are roles that might need to be enhanced, roles that might need to be, that might need to evolve, and then how that translates into how we'll support you so that you can fulfill either the new thinking, the new strategy, or the new ways of doing things, right? So we have in front of us impact. So what does it mean to bring impact? Doesn't mean that we need to potentially be stronger in terms of management of key stakeholders, monitoring, what comes out of the projects, right? We have an idea of can it be, but at the end, 5-10 years down the road, how can we monitor that is happening? So everything comes from the purpose of the organization and what we are trying to accomplish, and then translate into the work that we do. That's something that we do very regularly when we meet with managers, when we meet with senior management. So what is changing? The question that I keep asking now is what is changing, right? What is different? So that then we can scope how we need to support the organization. But what I can tell you is that we have the resources and the means to continue helping you to be re-skilled or to provide the development and the development opportunities that you might need to strengthen the area that needs to be strengthened so that you can be effective in your job. That is our responsibility. But this is a process, especially right now. I think it's a very interesting processes that we are going, that we are facing. So I would say more to come. But that is, I feel very strongly that is our responsibility, not only me and HR, but as leaders to continue assessing that and see what changes and what else needs to be put in place to support our employees.
One thing that that we already see as a clear trend because of generative AI is a push for a necessity for us as professionals to at least ask better questions to the agents. So many times we are task driven to the engine itself. But I was listening to a podcast recently, and one of the key aspects about this was I told you, Alex, about that. The best people who use this type of technology not necessarily are technology professionals, but fathers, mothers, teachers, people who are used to ask and take the best of the question itself, because the power of the engine itself is tremendous. So this is something very cool. We are almost to in the end of this panel, but I do want to use Karina's and Ana Maria's experience on the relationship with client to get a better sense on your opinion about how the client is driving the conversation about generative AI when they reach out to you as a country rep, Karina, with you as a division chief on sectors. Are they expecting something from the IDB? Are they lost? Do they have their own experiences? And what's the state of the situation from your perspectives?
Okay, I'll start. So actually, they have very high expectations. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, we already have a private firm that has developed a platform of AI solutions, and that's been offered on a subscription basis to the public. I think that as a development institution where we are advising the clients on large-scale borrowings, very complex transactions in different modalities, there has to be consistency with where we stand in that relationship and how they experience their engagement with the bank. And if we are too analog and we seem too far behind, then obviously there's going to be a dissonance and inconsistency with what they expect from us. So when we started to promote a digital transformation strategy in TNT, all of a sudden people who are coming to the office are saying, why do I have to sign a book at security? Shouldn't there just be some button or fingerprint or facial recognition? So everything has to be consistent. It's not just about the conversations we're having in the traditional spaces, but also, how are we keeping a pace with developments in our area, in the areas that we're talking about? And I think in this respect, I really want to thank the transport team. A few years ago, we decided that we would place a data scientist in the transport division here in CTT. And that totally changed and transformed the dialogue that we were having with the Ministry of Works and Transport. So, we're talking to them about modernization, and they knew that we had someone on our team who understood how to use Waze data, how to use GoPro, how to analyze, a large volume of data, and then have that inform the way that maintenance is done, the way that crews are managed who are out there in the fields. And there isn't another development agency offering those types of tools. And so in all the sectors in which we work, it really has transformed the relationship. And it's an important part of our future competitive advantage as an institution.
Thank you, Karina, and you need as well for that really committed rep, which and innovative, which is, and I will say that we have different demands. I don't know a client or a government that says, I want to learn about generative AI in the transport sector. They wouldn't come like that. What they come is with real practical problems that they have, and that we can help them solve with technology. And by that, I just gave some examples about simple things, like, for example, before to for you to decide or to have the information about how a pavement of a highway was or of a road, you had to take actually a car with a person. You will take the video.
In the notebook.
And then each person. So now with Pavimentados, for example, we're giving them a tool that is not just reducing time, but reducing cost. So what is the role of the bank? Is to try to put all those solutions for them for real problems. Why? Because the transport sector, as I say, is a really busy sector with very complex projects and problems. So there are some governments thinking frontier and innovation, but some of them are just trying to kind of survive on a sector that in some countries is really, really behind. So what I see, and that's why we're really investing on us developing new knowledge and experimenting, is to try to solve all those traditional problems that the sector has with innovation and with tools that they can really use. We've been seeing a lot of external consulting firms go and sell the same product, government by government, and charging for the same technology and getting all the property rights. I think the bank has as well a very good kind of brokerage, or I don't know, like a power to bring all that knowledge and help them to take it to the clients on a more efficient way as well.
You definitely have an answer for that, but also you guys as supervisors and team leaders, how do you see this challenge? But Beatriz, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel the urge to talk about culture.
I don't know why.
No, it's incredibly important, right? Because culture is not as complicated as the way we work, right? How we collaborate with each other, the ground rules for us playing together. So then this becomes incredibly important if technology becomes at the core of how we work together. So we need to understand how we can incorporate it, but that is in the context of our own values, what we define that is dear to us, and then we will protect. Kind of going back to Alberto's point that it's not only because it's the great thing that will help us to be efficient and all these things, it's truly how it fits who we are as an organization. And whatever we do with technology reflects who we are and how we lead. And how we lead not only internally, but externally. So I think that in that sense, if it is a value to use technology for improving lives and for, help us to move the needle in poverty, to really have an impact on climate change and the development of the country, so it is. So it comes with everything, right? Who we are in our values and how we model behavior outside and inside of the organization. So,
Anna, I don't know if Alberto and Karina wants to jump in, but
yeah, I can jump in.
Go, Karina.
Okay. I was just going to say that I think there are different levels of risk aversion among individuals, and that applies both inside and outside the institution. And I actually think that that's good. That diversity of views and opinions is good because technology is not really designed, right? We heard Alberto talk about the fact that there are biases inherent in how programmers come up with these algorithms and how they program these systems to work for us. So we can't think that they're all objective and accept them. We have to really pay attention, and we need people who are ready to go tomorrow with it, and we need people who are a little more cautious, and that should inform us in making the best decisions about tech.
Thanks, Karina. Anna, and Alberto, you go first, and then I finish here with Ana Maria.
Okay. No, thank you. So I'll definitely echo that. I mean, the history has shown that technology, whenever something comes up, there's really no way to stop it, right? Technology is here. People are gonna use it. There's really no stopping it. But I think at this point in time, we have an opportunity that usually it's been for social media, for example, it came out never regulated, and we're where we are. But with AI, I think we have, hopefully, because of the people who are actually developing this, they have been thinking about how to do it responsibly. And so it's something that we should be able to understand, to embrace, but be skeptical, right? Be skeptical about it, because when I went to this conference again, there's a lot of stuff that's going out there. People are putting all these tools out and making claims that are really not based on anything but speculation. And so being skeptical, exactly what is it that this technology is being used for, and the ethical implications of its use. Those are really, I think, that we have an opportunity, better than we did, I think, in the past, to really think about those ethical implications and think about the responsible use, but do it in a way that is still something that is going to drive us forward. And so it's a balancing act here that I think it's, in terms of the culture, we should be open to innovation, but at the same time we should be mindful in terms of how we do it responsibly, so that the implications and the impacts are not harmful. And at the end of the day, we're trying to improve lives, so we really don't want to make sure that they were not really leaving lives behind.
And I will say, just to make a different point as well, is I think we have a responsibility from the bank to lead this, or at least have a role to lead the digital and the technology transformation in the region. Lots of us that come from governments, we know how it is 4 years in government. You don't have time to innovate, to do all this. We have a privileged position here at the bank. We have the tools. We have the ecosystem. So this is, I don't think it's a choice. It should be part of how we transfer that knowledge and help the region to do it. So I see in the people that are applying to the bank more and more time, they bring either a degree with data scientists or analysis. I see the change. Most of the young professionals that are applying to the transport division, they come with that. So with that, lots of that knowledge, I mean. So for us, so I was trying to say a responsibility is something that we should do, but as well for people that have been in the bank longer, maybe we were not trained professionally to kind of catch up.
Well, I have to finish this panel, but I won't finish without saying that we were only able to have an expo here to share a handful of experiments of how the bank is doing AI and related to this question, because we need to foster a culture of experimentation across different areas. And I would add on what Alberto mentioned, responsible experimentation, I would say. But experimentation, I think it's super important. So thanks, Beatriz, Ana Maria, Karina, and Alberto. A round of applause, and thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, Alberto. Thank you, Karina. Bye-bye. Thank you, Beatriz. Thank you, Ana Maria. That was great. I wanted to jump in many times on many topics.